Today, we're doing 16 new pool noodle hacks, and they are freaking awesome.
I love eating noodles.
No, pool noodles. They're made out of styrofoam.
Why would you want to eat a styrofoam noodle?
Pool noodle hack number 1. I really like these fly boxes right here. I like them because you can put flies in them, or like me, crappy jigs. But it's got this styrofoam in it, and you can put flies on one side, and you can put terminal tackle on the other side. Like you can have minnow hooks or jig heads or all kinds of jigs, you know what I'm saying? Well, I made a video a couple of years ago where I used a pencil box to make a fly box. This video is kind of like that, but it's going to be a little bit different. You can find all kind of cheap boxes if you just look around. I actually got these at the Dollar Tree, but I bought them back when they were still $1. Well, this box right here came from Walmart, and it was around $1 too. But the cool thing about this box, it's got all these little compartments in it, but you can flip it over and it's got more compartments in it. Well, what you could do is take yourself a pool noodle, and we're gonna take this pool noodle and we're gonna cut it up into little tiny squares. Once you got it cut up into little tiny squares, then we're gonna get us some kind of good glue. But you wanna glue those little squares into certain places in the box. I'm not gluing them into every slot, just the big ones. After you get them all glued in there, you got you a box that'll hold made up jigs and it'll hold terminal tackle. I mean, that's pretty awesome. And you only got $1 in it. Have you looked up the price of some of those fly boxes out there? I mean, they get pretty ridiculous. Plus, this thing's double-sided too. And that's just freaking awesome. Pool noodle hack number 2. Last week's video was a bucket hack video. And if you ain't seen that, go check it out. On one of the hacks on it, I took a piece of floor mat and a bucket lid. I cut it out and I made myself a bucket seat with a padded top, you know what I'm saying? Well, it turned out pretty dang cool, but what if you took a bucket lid? Now I'm using Gorilla Spray Adhesive because this stuff's pretty dang strong when it dries. Then you take your pool noodle and you cut it in half. After you get it cut into 2 pieces, then you start cutting it to fit your lid and gluing it on. And after you get all the pieces glued on and trimmed to where they fit, now you got you a bucket seat. And this thing's pretty dang comfortable too. And it don't look that bad, actually. And if I had to pick, this one was probably easier. Plus that pool noodle didn't cost me but $1. One piece of that floor mat is like $2.50 because they come 4 to a pack. So it's cheaper too. I'm just saying. Hack number 3. So I'm gonna take a small pool noodle. This is the little one. I'm gonna take my long razor blade and I'm gonna cut me off 2 sections about 2.5 inches wide. Then you stick your PVC inside the pool noodles, cut some 3/4 inch PVC about 6 or 7 inches long until you have something like this. Now you can glue it on there, but it stays on pretty good by itself. Then I got some twisted twine. I call this masonry line. Next, I tie on a piece of masonry line and wrap it in between the pool noodles till I get like at least 40 foot on there. Then the only thing left to do is put a sinker on the end. And when you finished, you got yourself a marker buoy that didn't cost very much.
What do you call a fake noodle?
I don't know.
An imposter.
Pool noodle hack number 4. Now, this next pool noodle hack is about as simple as it gets. We want to take our long razor blade again. We're going to cut a pool noodle into a little tiny square. But the trick is, you see this open-sailed part on the end? The sides are kind of closed solid. We want every side to be open-sailed like this. So every side's going to have to be cut off of it. And you don't want this thing to be gigantic. Maybe a 1/2 inch square, probably no more than 3/4 inch square. But after you get your little squares cut and every side has open sails like this, well then you can put this pool noodle on a hook and you got something to hold your dip bait on. Just like the ones that they sell. Except for this right here is practically free. You can use them on treble hooks too. You can use them on anything you want, actually. Hack number 5. Now there's always stuff on your boat that's kind of pointed And if you put a boat cover over it, it could tear up your cover. And there's plenty of examples on a boat of what I'm talking about. Well, if you took you a pool noodle and cut it up into the lengths that you need, put a slit down the side, now you can cover up these problem areas and not have to worry about tearing your boat cover. That's pretty awesome right there. Pool noodle hack number 6. Green lights are totally awesome, okay? And I've got several videos about how to make green lights, how to fish with green lights. But the problem with green lights is they're kind of for boat fishermen. And the reason I say that, they're ideal for dropping off the corner of your boat and attracting plankton, which in hand attracts fish. But what about the poor bank fishermen? If we took a pool noodle, I'm taking a pool noodle that's kind of big. This cuts you off a section. According to how heavy your green light is, you're probably going to need 6 or 7 inches at least. Then we're going to take that pool noodle and slide it up our green light. It's going to be really tight, but you want it really tight. Actually, the hole's a little bit too small. I can't just slide it up on there. So we're going to open it up just a little bit. And after we get it opened up, now we're going to slide it up on there. Don't glue it on there unless you're wanting it to stay on there forever. Now you can throw this thing in the water and let it float around in front of you while you're fishing. And that right there is pretty dang awesome. Pool noodle hack number 7. Did you know you can use pool noodles for boats and kayak flotation? All boats and all kayaks have flotation made into them. A lot of people that like working on stuff that redo their boats, when they take them apart, they take the old flotation out and they'll just use pool noodles to put back in them for flotation. And you can do the same thing with your kayak, because all kayaks, especially sit-on tops, have some kind of flotation blocks on the inside of them. Because if your kayak or your boat fills up with water, it stops it from sinking to the bottom of the lake.
Oh no!
Oh, it'll still sink, but it won't sink to the bottom of the lake. And pool noodles are some of the most buoyant styrofoam that you can get.
Did you hear about the noodle that was in the car wreck?
Oh no, what happened?
He passed away.
Hack number 8. On my last hack video, I took a pool noodle and some paracord and made a float for some boga grips. That was pretty cool on its own, but I coated it in Flex Seal, which made it totally awesome. Turned out pretty good. You can go look that up if you're interested. Pool noodle hack number 9. Now this hack is just a trick to show you some things that you can do with pool noodles. You know how when you cut off a pool noodle, the end of it is like an open sail, the side of it is closed. And if you use Flex Seal on it like I did the boga grips, it makes it harder to paint because of those open sails. Well, something you can do is take a heat gun and heat the end of the pool noodle. When it gets hot, rub it against something. If it don't close all the way, heat it up again and keep repeating that until those open sails start to close back. But when you're done, you take these open rough sails like this and you turn them into nice clean closed sails, kind of like the side of the pool noodle. That's a pretty awesome trick. Hack number 10. Now another trick we can do is we can take 2 pool noodles. We can do the same thing as before and heat the ends. You kind of got to do it at the same time because they cool back off real fast. As soon as you got the ends good and warm, you stick them together and you can glue them back together. I got mine just a little bit crooked. They stick right back together and they don't come apart. Actually, that's kind of a cool thing to know. Pool noodle hack number 11. A lot of people nowadays are using pool noodles for rod socks. Don't get me wrong, I use rod socks. I've even got a fishing hack video to where I show you how to make rod socks, and they're not that expensive. But if you're traveling a long way and you're worried about your rods, or more technically your eyes, you can just take a pool noodle, make a slice halfway down the pool noodle. That way you can slide it on the top part. Then when you get halfway down, open up the part you got sliced, and it'll fit over your eyes easier. Then you have your rod protected with a pool noodle. On this large eye, I put an extra little slit on both sides. That way it fits right over that eye. And this whole thing stays on there better. Now if you're going on a trip, you can throw this thing on the back of your truck and you no longer have to worry about your eyes getting all tore up on your rod. Pool noodle hack number 12. Anytime I go bass fishing, these dang treble hooks get hung into everything. And some of the lures they use now are humongous. You can cut you off a piece of pool noodle, cut a slit in it, and stick it over that lure. Now you don't have to worry about the treble hooks getting into everything. And if this thing falls off your boat, and you ain't gonna lose your rod and reel. Know what I'm saying? Hack number 13. Well, a buddy of mine has a hack that's kind of like the last two I did. It's a lure keeper and it's a rod sock. When he's using a sabiki rig, he uses a pool noodle like a rod sock. And then he keeps his rig on the pool noodle and it keeps it from getting all tangled up, which is really genius. I'll leave a link to that video and you can go over there and watch it and probably pick up more than I told you about it. If you like to use that type of rig, you're to go check it out. Hack number 14. On my last PVC video, I made this cool rod holder. It has a magnetic base. It's put together with PVC. It's got a bungee cord through it and a pool noodle cushion on it. It being magnetic, you can stick it on your car hood or on the roof of a SUV. Then you can put your fishing rods through this bungee cord and it'll hold them down. And that right there turned out pretty dang awesome. Hack number, on my last bucket video, I had a hack where I put PVC on the handle because it's easier on your hands when you're carrying a lot of weight in a bucket. Well, if you did that same hack and cut you out a piece of PVC, pop the handle off of the bucket. But you take yourself a pool noodle and you cut it the same length as your PVC. Then stick your PVC inside of the pool noodle, slide it on, put your handle back on your bucket. And when you finish, you got a handle that no matter how much weight you put in this bucket, it's not gonna hurt your hand. Now, something else you can do with the pool noodle, if you don't like the size of this thing, you can shrink down a pool noodle just like shrink tube, and it'll still stay soft. You just take a heat gun and you run it over evenly. You have to be careful because these things melt fast. But when you finish, you can shrink that pool noodle down and make a more comfortable handle. It's still soft, but it feels more like rubber now. I kind of like it. Pool noodle hack number 16, I think. This right here is something that I think is genuinely really cool. If you like fishing with live bait or cut bait and you like using a float and your baits are pretty dang big, these are awesome. And I'm putting them on this video because I know the guy that makes them and he does a really good job with it. These floats have built-in lights in them and you can turn the lights on and the whole float glows. You screw the end off of these things and it has a light made in the cap. You tighten the light up a little bit and it comes on. When you screw it back in there, it lights the whole float up. I'm gonna show you what they look like in the dark. This is what they look like when you're fishing at night. You gotta admit, that's pretty dang cool right there. If you're using a bobber and you're using big baits, these are the way to go. I was told by the owner and maker of these things that they last for about 7 hours and the batteries are replaceable. They use hearing aid batteries. I'll leave a link in my description box so you can go buy some if you want them. I don't get nothing off of this. Honestly, I think they're pretty cool. They have pool noodles on them and this is a pool noodle video, so they made my list. I'm gonna take a pool noodle. I'm gonna cut it about 6 or 7 inches long. Then I'm gonna take a can or a drink bottle and I'm gonna draw off me a circle on the top. Next, I'll get my long razor blade and I'll cut into it. If you make it too thick, you'll have to cut it from both sides. Once you get the inside cut out of it, you got you an on-the-fly can koozie. I'm just saying. If you like this video, then you need to go check out this video. I'm serious. Go check it out because this one's over.